Hello, and welcome to something we're trying out. This is called, I guess we're going to call it Touching Grass.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on a deck, so either
Touching wood.
don't. Yeah, we thought we were going to try this. You pour that so fucking awkwardly, dude.
Yeah, well...
You're
I'm
not
not very
driving
smart.
a car. What are you trying to... Either way, this is something that we're trying out. We wanted to talk about some of the stuff that's happening at the moment in games and streaming and all of this other stuff that we're kind of being exposed to, and also sitting outside drinking some tea on a very lovely overcast Australian day, as they tend to be.
Yeah.
So the reason that we actually started doing this was because before we started our most recent Genshin video, Travis and I were watching something.
A streamer reacting to
Not a streamer.
Pokemon.
Pyrocynical is an interesting character.
Reacting to Pokemon ZA footage. And
Yeah,
like...
and he just wasn't. Everything he was saying was like kind of on the right. Thanks.
Sorry.
No, I mean the bird that just went past and screamed. It was kind of on the right idea, but a lot of it was just really off the mark. Like a lot of it was just about like, it just feels like a lot of streamers and people don't actually understand why the Pokemon game is as bad as it is, especially from like
Yeah.
an outsider looking in.
And also, like, we've both played ZA at this point. So, yeah, we can give a much more in-depth perspective of, like, all of the intricacies, I suppose, that
Well, it's
make
also
the-
like, I think it's because as much as I don't come off as one, I am a Pokemon fan. But I don't know, ever since like Sword and Shield, not even that, like even after Black and White, it really started to lose me. Because I think Pokemon started to lose its identity and a lot of the stuff that it was going for.
I think Black and White was the real peak. Like Black and White and Black 2 and White 2 like were the real peak of where Pokemon was. Like that was where they refined a lot of their stuff. And then ever since they started doing 3D games, they kind of had a downfall ever since.
I mean, yes and no. I feel like a lot of the issue with the 3D games is they just don't care anymore. Like I said in, or I'm about to say in a video on the main channel that I'm about to release, we've really started to see Nintendo move away from really trying to make their games good and just like, they do it as efficiently as possible. They try to make sure that everything is like as money hungry as possible. That's
Yeah.
kind of it. As long as they can get it out and people will buy it, that's all they really care about.
And, you know, with a company as big as Nintendo and Game Freak,
There's no
and
excuse.
a series as prolific as Nintendo, they're like, people are going to buy these games. Like,
Yeah, and it's also like, there's just no excuse for it. It's the same thing that we saw with Randy Pitchford talking about a lot of stuff in Borderlands 4 of like, oh, you guys don't need an FOV slider, you guys can do it yourself. And it's like, yeah, but you're a multi-billion-dollar company. You don't need random people to show you how to do your job. In fact, you've been doing your job for years. You just didn't do it this time for some reason. And the issue with a lot of stuff like Pyrocynical and even the Act Man talking about it. The Act Man, I think, is probably one of the better people because he has a lot more of a... He has a broader perspective and he's very open to saying like, look, if I don't know about something, then I'm going to say that I don't know about it. I'm very scared that that phone is going to fall over.
You can adjust it if you want.
Nah, it'll be something to put in the video. We'll see what shatters first, the glass or the glass table. But yeah, it's just like they seem to, because I don't want to make myself out to be like, oh, I'm better than all these people, because these people have an audience. Like, obviously they're doing something that I'm not. Obviously I mean, apart from having also worked at this for like 5 years longer than I have.
Yeah.
But they just don't seem to understand a lot of the inner workings of stuff. Again, this is more to say specifically with Pyrocynical and other people like him that make that kind of content. Because a lot of the stuff that he was complaining about was like graphics and, oh, it moves like a PowerPoint presentation. It's like, but that's not the point of Pokemon. That's never been the issue with it. Like, yes, it's we make a point of it as well, but that's because, you know, the textures on the buildings are incredibly lazy.
I just repeated the same thing over and over again, and it's kind of inexcusable when...
Yeah.
Like,
and the difference is like, they're talking about like, oh, it's low resolution, it's got pop-in. It's like, yeah, it's got pop-in, it's low resolution, it's on a Switch. It's the size of an iPad.
well, okay, keep in mind, the games on the DS had bad resolution and, like, all of that stuff, but that was on a DS, and also those games were still amazing. Like...
Yeah, but that's the difference, right? Like, he was talking about the graphics, and he was specifically pointing out, like, oh, what was it he said? He's like, oh, it's a game where you run around and you catch Pokemon or monsters, and then you have them battle, and there's nothing you can really do with that. I don't think that's true. Like, there's so much that they could do, and they have done, but the issue is with Pokemon isn't that they're running out of things to do, it's that they're trying to do things that don't fit with the games.
Yeah.
And the thing about this new combat style is it just doesn't feel good.
Yeah, as the person who's played most of, like, the ZA streams, as a Pokemon fan, one of the things that I started enjoying about the franchise was, like, the strategy element, where you could use certain moves to set up for your later team, or you could, like, use buff moves or certain moves at specific times. With ZA, it feels like a lot of it is just...
Spamming buttons.
Yeah, spamming buttons as quickly as you can, like... Because of the cooldown, like, you can use basically as many abilities as you want at the same time.
And you can just do, like, there's even Pokemon where you can do all 4 in a rotation and you'll just be able to do that.
And also things like Fire Spin or Whirlpool, those two moves, and, like, a large amount of them as well, were, like, moves that you were using to trap your enemies in a circle, whereas in this new game, they're just literally puddles in the ground, like, where they don't really do much unless the enemy walks into them, and moves like spikes, like spikes and toxic spikes, which were moves that were made specifically so that if someone's switching out a Pokemon, they would be, like, caught in the spikes. Now it's just an area where the enemy can't move, so now it's kind of like, just don't have your Pokemon in that area, and a lot of the time with the movement of your Pokemon, you can't control it, so it's like...
Yeah, especially, like, we've seen this a few times as well, where you would be running around and the Pokemon would just, like, walk into blatant attacks, and it's not because the Pokemon is like trying to think smart, it's because it's literally just trying to move next to you. And there's no like detection of situation or anything that's happening at the time. So a lot of the time the Pokemon will die or miss moves simply because they haven't put work into making it understand what is happening in the context. Like,
Yeah.
Gyarados blatantly doesn't understand how to fire his own abilities.
Yeah, like we've seen multiple times with Hydro Pump where it will move as close as possible and then fire it directly down, but it can't go straight down, so it just...
And for people that are going to say like, oh, but that's really difficult to do, it's not really that difficult to do. Like, you can set up a basic raycast to go, all right, what's the angle that... Because they've set a limitation on the angle that the ability can fire at, obviously. And so, essentially what you do is you put a raycast out, you say, how many steps forward, how many steps down? Okay, that's where that Pokemon needs to be for me to be able to hit it.
And it's like... They do that for, like, the melee moves, so it's not like... Like, because with all of the melee moves, they move really close and then they attack when they're directly next to the Pokemon that they're trying to attack. Whereas you don't get that with all of the, like, special attacks.
Yeah, it's... I don't know. And the thing is like, I thought that, you know, even if I don't agree with a lot of the 3D aspects of Pokemon games, because I enjoy the 2D turn-based. I'm a Final Fantasy fan. I played all the original Pokemon. My favorite Pokemon is Generation 4, specifically Platinum, all that stuff. But I don't know. I thought that if they moved it into 3D games, they'd be able to be like, oh, look at all these, like, you'll actually be able to see all of the, like, animated abilities that we'll do come to life. And now you see them, and a lot of them are just kind of...
The same thing, or,
yeah,
like, really basic.
Because it's like how Water Gun, Hydro Pump, Psybeam, Tri-Beam, Hyper Beam, all of them are exactly the same effect, but colored differently. And in the case of Water Gun and Hydro Pump, they're not even different.
You can look at... You could say that maybe they didn't have an example of what to use, but, like, look at the anime. Like, they've got hundreds of different moves that in the anime are shown in such specialized ways that really, I think the only thing that's stopping them from doing that is either time or laziness. Like...
And for context, I think a really good way to do exactly what Pokemon is trying to do right now, but put it into a different, like, into a... I don't want to say better, but I guess that's kind of the only thing I can say, for lack of a better term. Look at Final Fantasy 13, you know? Look at Final Fantasy 7. Those are two games that use the same action style. Okay, you can't spam abilities all the time, but you have the option to use abilities when you want. And the abilities look really cool, you know? If you're using your ATB bar and all 3 bars are filled up, you can get a really cool thing. If maybe you have like Hyper Beam, because in the older games it takes 2 moves to use, right? Maybe you could use that like you do a Limit Break in some of the old Final Fantasy games. You have it be like this epic charge up, and then if the Pokemon gets knocked out of it, then you make a point of that. Like that would be cool to see. But what we get is like, it's like seeing 2 little creatures kind of run around and slap each other a bunch. It doesn't feel like anything's happening, and it feels like everything's kind of too dumb to really sort itself out.
Another major problem is the way that they try and box you in the tutorial. It feels like as if they're trying to keep you to such specific areas so that you can't roam the open world
The tutorial is such a joke, man.
It's okay. It goes for so long, right? And it feels like they're trying to box you in as much as possible for as long as possible so that nobody experiences the open world and realizes it's actually more disappointing than they were advertising. Like, even in the tutorial where they're telling you explicitly where you are and aren't allowed to go, it feels like a lot of the time they're, like, you can see the mistakes with all of the buildings, or like, not the mistakes, but how much of it is just the exact same thing over and over again, and it's...
We're gonna need a bigger teapot next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, it was quite disappointing, and I kind of came into the game expecting not to like it, but when I actually saw what was happening in it, I was legitimately floored.
I was coming into ZA with the expectation that this was going to be my new favorite game. With all of the advertising and everything, I was hoping that this was going to be the best Pokemon game that they had released. And the moment I started playing, maybe not the moment, but basically the moment...
Like 30, 40 minutes in.
Yeah.
When you were still stuck in nothing but tutorials. I
just felt like they were repeating everything way too much, and the combat was lackluster. Even in later areas, they try and give you, the stronger Pokemon to, like, help your party a little bit, but you don't need it. And also, with the alpha Pokemon, if you get one of those, you just end up destroying everything. Like, there's basically no point in having anything else on your team but maybe a couple alphas with a mega evolution.
Yeah, and that's something that I think you're starting to see it as well, and it's especially bad with this game. There is no reason to use anything other than a mega evolution.
Well, okay. With mega evolutions in X and Y, sure, there were in Gen 6, sure there were a couple that were extremely overpowered, but I think Mega Evolution was one of those things that was really good for weaker Pokemon. Like, for example, Mawile, which is a Pokemon that has one of the best typings in the game, doesn't have a great stat pool, but with Mega Evolution, it gets an extra 100 points to its stats and, its total stats.
Yeah, but that's the point of Mawile, though. It's one of the best typings in the game, and it doesn't have good stats because it's the best typing in the game.
Yeah, but, I would say that with something like Mawile, it's a weaker Pokemon that gets its moment to shine, and I think that's something that they should have kept doing.
Instead of just giving everything to Gyarados and Charizard and...
In this, a lot of the Pokemon that are getting Mega Evolutions are Pokemon that are already relatively strong, which is something that they did in X and Y and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, but it's something that they've completely neglected, and I feel like it was the entire reason in the first place to have such a mechanic. For example, you could have one of the more, forgotten Pokemon, like Illumise, that...
I don't even know what that is.
It's a Gen 2 Pokemon, and it's, known for being a forgettable and worthless Pokemon, basically.
You mean unknown?
But yeah, we could have seen something like Illumise, or, God, what's another weak Pokemon? Alchemy?
I don't know what that one is either.
That's a newer one. We could have seen those get Mega Evolutions, and it could have been, instead of them being just runts that you throw away the moment you get them, to like actually being worthwhile members on your team that you can focus around, which is something I completely like. I'm completely disappointed that we didn't get. Like,
yeah, I don't know. It's just, and also like, God damn, the amount of repeated information that they give you. Like, I know that we harp on this. For context, we've pretty much spoken about this at length on the streams while we've been playing it.
and I am going to cover it in my ZA video as well.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I think they tell you 3 different times in the first hour that wild zones exist.
It feels like more than that.
Well, in the first hour that we played, right? Because we played it at a slower pace. We were doing the voice acting, and
also
because the game still isn't voice acted, by the way, for some reason.
I would like to point out the fact that I went back over the game in a completely different save on a different account, and I tried to play through as quickly as possible. Like, I made a few mistakes, obviously. I feel like it's impossible to play a game without making a couple mistakes from time to time, but...
Unless you're a speedrunner.
Yeah, but then that's their job. But,
Our job is to cover things, not be good at games.
I spammed through all of the dialogue. I tried my best to do all of the fights as quickly as possible as well. And I got to the point that we finished off in our first stream, which was the detective first.
Sorry.
Where but yeah, that took an hour and 30 minutes spamming through everything, and like...
Hang on. I'm gonna need to pause and cut this out because it's gonna take me a second to stop sneezing. It really wasn't a smart idea to start doing this at the start of spring.
You good now?
Huh?
Are you okay?
Should be right now.
Alright. But yeah, it took an hour and 30 minutes to get up to, like, what? The first time that we can really explore the open world?
Yeah, which is by, like, the 3rd
which isn't even the end of the tutorial either.
Yeah, you keep getting tutorials until like 5 or 6 hours into the game easily.
Which, I get that there are games that have tutorials sprinkled throughout the main story. That's a thing that happens all the time with games.
Especially with like mini games and stuff.
Yeah, and like... especially with, like, functions of the game that they specifically try and leave until the end of the game.
Genshin Impact is a good example, because, like, every time you're introduced to a new area, you go through a tutorial for the mechanics of that area, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of different, because it can kind of feel like a sequel
yeah, but it's
to
a good,
game.
it's a good, like, indicator of, like, this is how you can do this without wearing out your audience.
But with ZA, it feels like you're in an endless tutorial. It feels like you're in an endless tutorial for the same point over and over again.
Yeah.
Because, like, repeating to you over and over again that a wild area, you can catch Pokemon in a wild area, is not the same as being like, hey, by the way, there's these new things that you can teleport, like, and it's like a mini game, kind of.
Which they don't say about either. Like, there's a bunch of stuff in the game that they don't give you tutorials for.
Which, for example, like the bag thing, I didn't notice that the bag bar was there. They could have covered that in the tutorial at all, and it would have been cool. But instead, they're more focused on the fact that there are there's a league thing that you gather tickets for, and
Which doesn't matter, because, like, you skip a portion of it anyway.
yeah, like,
Okay.
oh my
so
god, it
the
also
thing-
takes so long.
The thing for me, right, that kills me about the tutorial is the start of the game is you get off the train, you're introduced to your main, like, rival or whatever. You're introduced to the big
mean,
bad or...
Can you call them a rival because they only fight you twice?
So far.
So far, but still.
You're introduced to the big bad, which is the big corporation, and then you go off to speak to the... you go to the hotel, you speak to the hotel manager, and then you go to the wild zone and you catch your Pokemon. And then after that, you get told about the wild zone, and then you go to another place and you go back to the hotel and you talk to AZ, and then you get told about the wild zone, and then you go up and you go to sleep, and then you this is after the battle zone stuff and all that. You have a battle, and then you're told about the wild zones again, and it's like,
Yeah.
guys, we've been there. We've been to the wild zones. We know how to do it. You walked us through making sure we could capture 5 Pokemon in the wild zone.
Yeah, and also another thing that I didn't think of until now, like when you mentioned the corporation, we don't really know if the corporation is a big bad because it's not really, like, it's kind of been vague.
Constantinople or whatever. Quasartico, I think it's called.
Yeah, one of the major things that makes a lot of the Pokemon games interesting is the evil teams. Like, for example, in Platinum, it's Team Galactic with them trying to, like, get Giratina or one of the legendary
that way
Pokemon.
you can also have goons do, like, stupid shit, and you don't feel bad for them because they're part of an evil team.
Like, in Black and White, a lot of the time, the evil team is, like, halting your progress to the next gym, or in Gen 1 even, a major gym leader, like, the last gym leader that you face was the big bad of Team Rocket, which, I know that's a spoiler, but it's, like, it's a game that came out in the 90s, so I feel like it's fine.
I didn't even know that about Gen 1, but...
That it came out in the 90s?
No, that happened in Gen 1. But I didn't really
that
pay attention to it.
That Giovanni is the head of Team Rocket?
I know that Giovanni, I just never put it together.
Oh.
I think I was too young to realize.
But yeah, that's one of the major things that, like, has been a thing that's a major formula for all of the games. There's even an evil team in Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is... So they can't really...
Which was still written poorly, but...
Well, yeah, it's written poorly, but it's still an example... Like, I'm saying that just because it's a Legends game doesn't denote the fact that evil teams are still a major point of Pokemon.
Fuck off.
Yeah, it feels
Lazy.
like they're removing a major point that, like, adds to the lore of the world.
And, okay, this is something that I wanted to say, that kind of trips me out about it. It feels, with the amount of repetition, the story feels AI-driven. And I say that because AI, especially, like, really cheap AI that's easy to run, has this consistent issue where it cannot make believable, like, antagonists or groups that, like, go against the main story, because 1, it can't keep consistency because it can't remember that well, and 2, it also just doesn't understand how to write conflict.
It also, like, with AI, a major thing is, like, censorship, where, like, ChatGPT is one of those major things where they won't write about a drug dealer character because they don't want to promote that sort of thing, which...
I mean, you don't want that in Pokemon. That's not really what Pokemon does anyway.
That's not my point. One of the things about Pokemon that is something that a lot of people don't necessarily know or care about, but is one of those major things that I really enjoy about the series, is that there's always, like, something in someone's story that is, like, a majorly implied problematic thing, like...
I mean, to be fair, we haven't done any other side quests yet.
I mean, yeah, but... I don't know. Like, even in the main story, a lot of the evil teams, their whole thing is like, I wanna expand the oceans and drown part of the landmass so that we can have more water Pokemon, and like... AI won't really write about that sort of thing because they don't want to write about global disasters because they know that it's a sensitive subject.
I don't think you've used AI very much. I mean, that's not... You can kind of jailbreak AI to talk about whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, but you kind of have to have a very hyper-specific focus on what...
No, you really don't. You don't really need it. There's a lot of chat, like even ChatGPT has been jailbroken to talk about some pretty crazy shit. And if you disguise your questions, you can also get them to say some in absolutely like insane stuff. But I get what you mean. Especially with something like Nintendo, if they're trying to make their own, then I can understand why they wouldn't really touch on any of it, but I don't know. It's... For me, it's showing a very harsh downward spiral for Nintendo. And at the rate they're going, I don't think it's going to change. Because people keep buying the shit. Like, the sales numbers of the DLC alone have been insane. And you don't even have access to it. But then again... I don't even know how much of that is about the marketing and stuff, and because like we bought it expecting it to be available to us.
Well, it was advertised because they kept on saying that the DLC is available on this date. They kept on saying pre-order until this date, because this is the date that it's releasing, and all we get is a costume and hey, this doesn't actually release until
February.
Yeah, it feels like a major like FU to consumers.
Which, I mean, again, and this is something I talk about in the video that I'm about to release, this is something that EA did, this is something that EA has done, and they crashed for it hard. It was super unliked, and it's something that I really fucking despise about this game. Like, if I had known that it wasn't releasing until February, I wouldn't have bothered at all. But I think I had exactly the same experience happen to me that a lot of parents are going to happen, where they're going to buy it for their kids, right? And because the kid wants the DLC because it's a part of the game, and then they're going to try getting to it, and they realize that, oh wait, this doesn't happen in the game. And then the parent doesn't realize until way later that, oh, you bought basically nothing.
Yeah.
Like, and you've spent 45 Australian dollars on... at minimum, I think I've actually paid more than 45 Australian dollars.
I think that might be more of a Nintendo issue, because that's...
Well, if that's a Nintendo issue, then they've stolen money from me.
Yeah.
Because that's not the number that they had listed. But, yeah, like... It's a massive, massive issue. And I guess the only really thing you can do about it right now is just talk about it, because there's nothing we can do as individuals, especially not against something as large as Nintendo.
Well, a major thing, right, is spreading awareness and like letting people know, which is kind of what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Because
And this has kind of drifted away from talking about pyrocynical and stuff, but I think this goes back to the issue of, like, people don't really understand why it's, like, what about the game, especially from outsiders' perspectives that aren't playing the game or don't want to play the game,
Yeah.
especially, like, Moist Critical and stuff like that. They simply don't want to play the game because they've seen gameplay and they're like, oh, it doesn't look like it's for me. Which I completely understand. You don't need to buy a game and then not talk about it. Just, please, guys, don't act like you know what the issue is if you haven't played the game and you don't understand anything about it. Like, there's a very big difference between playing the game and understanding it and not playing the game and making judgments that you have no connection to.
I think the biggest problem about, like, streamers talking about the game if they don't know about it is it spreads...
Misinformation.
Yeah, like, for those people who wanted to buy the game, but they haven't, like, had the funds to actually pay for the game or anything, and, like, they're waiting until their next paycheck, or, like, maybe they're just waiting until, like, Christmas or something, it spreads, like, a sort of idea that the game isn't actually as bad as, like... Or the issues aren't actually as large as people are talking about it.
Or, like, the issues are just different. Like, graphics and stuff, that can be excused. You're on a Switch, you're already not expecting amazing graphics. Which, again, isn't the issue. The issue is the lack of interest that they put into the game.
Yeah.
Like, okay, and this is something that I need to put out there, because no one is talking about it. There not being balconies on a building is not graphics. That is details, right? Those are two very vastly different things. If you look at a wall and you see the textures in the brick, that is a graphic. That is like graphical fidelity. If you look at a house and there is a window and you can see at the interior, that is a detail, that is not graphical fidelity, because you do not, like, just draw out a texture and then the inside of the building happens. That's not how these work. But so many people seem to be like, oh, the graphics are crazy, there's no veranda, there's no what's it called, what did I just say?
Balcony.
There's no balconies on outside of these doors. It's like, that's not... What are you talking about? Those are two different things. Which, I again, doesn't discredit the fact that there should be balconies if there's balconies on the texture. Why are there not balconies if there's balconies on the texture? It doesn't make sense. But at the same time, those are two different things. You can have textures that are low quality, which are already the case, and you can have details that are not there, which is the case as well. So it's not just an issue of the graphics being bad. It's an issue of the graphics being bad and them not putting the care and effort into making the details matter.
Something that you just reminded me of is the way that, like, there's so much detail in the sewer level, but there's no detail at all in, like, the
well, again, I think that's
the main
purely
game.
a thing for, because if you,
I mean, yeah,
that's purely textures. Like, if you look at the sewer level, like, objectively, it is a cylinder that has been cut out of a block and a block that is attached to the cylinder.
Yeah.
And you walk through it. And then there's, like, really good brick textures and then, like, a bit of water, but that's it. That's all there is.
But, yeah, I started thinking about the sewer level, and then I started thinking about the, like, how undriven the story is, which goes back to
It is driven because you're forced to do it.
Well,
you're just not the one driving, which is the exact opposite of how it should feel.
The opposite of an open world game.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, one of the things about the story is it feels like in Pokemon as a series, a majority of the time, the goal is straightforward, and it's like, you need to get to the Elite Four, or sorry, you need to become the champion of the region, so you need to verse the Elite Four, which you need to verse the gym leaders for, which is one of those things that makes the story of Pokemon so interesting. And also there's always the evil teams that have these major plot points where they're like, I'm gonna destroy the world so that I can create a new world or something like that. And it's like, in this game, in ZA, it feels like they've stripped both of those elements away. Or,
well, I mean, this is just a tournament arc. Like, the game is a tournament arc.
They've told you that you need to...
And by the way, I'd like to go out of my way and say, we haven't reached the end of the story yet, so we can't really say, like, overall what the story is. But at this point...
it doesn't feel like there's much there.
We've played about 20 hours, and so far the story has been the same.
I think the only parts of the story that we get are that AZ's there, and that's about it.
Zygarde is following us.
Oh, and Lysander appears and says some things a couple times, but that's...
And Naveen's a simp. And so is V.
Everything about this game has been... You go to the tournament, and then there's this one guy that you've got to face at the end of the, like, qualification thing, and then this person's been like, oh, before you fight me, you've got to do all of this stupid shit.
But they didn't start doing that until, like, the very end, right? Until, like, after you do that massive ladder skip, which I think is so dumb. Like, they skip a bunch of positions, and then they're like, okay, we got to pad for time. These people are moving through way too quickly. It's like, you made us move through quickly. Why are we being punished for your lack of interest in the continuation of the ladder? Yeah,
and also, the way that they prolong the story is so stupid, because it's like, this is spoilers for anyone who...
I mean, probably just better if we don't say it, because it really doesn't matter. Like...
I was going to talk about the streamer.
I mean, you can say that without spoilers. It's just like, you have to do like a quiz show, and then you have to chase down some
Essentially,
information.
The point is that one of the qualification matches, you're faced with a person who doesn't want to Pokemon battle with anyone, and the entire point is you've got to go through all of these loopholes and stupid shit
like I was saying,
get to them.
If they put themselves into a tournament and then they said that they don't want to battle anyone, kick them out of the tournament. They shouldn't fucking be there.
There should be, like, in real life tournaments, right? If you're playing Smash Bros or even like Yu-Gi-Oh, like
if you don't show up to your matches, you get kicked out. You get a DNF.
You get disqualified, or like you get kicked to a like lower like point in the, like, sometimes people have the failure matches where they're like, if you lose this, but the person who doesn't get to face you either first versus someone else who is in the tournament, or they just go up to the next point.
Yeah, you don't just get up to that person and then they're like, well, you didn't show up, you can't compete anymore.
Yeah,
so, like, you just have to wait for them to show up, and it's like, that's not fucking fair.
It's like,
I got shit to do, guy. Like, what are you talking about?
It feels like even the tournament part of the game, like, there's zero care put into it. Like, they're not holding it by any rules or standards.
It feels like it's wasting your time, like, endlessly.
Yeah, I don't know. Like...
Well, I think, like, yeah. Olap, I think, like, that's kind of the idea of what we wanted to talk about, but...
It feels like... Yet again, we haven't gotten fully through the game, so I don't know if this happens or not in the plot, but, like...
I imagine they're gonna have some big thing with Zygarde and...
Yeah, but, like, I feel like if you're doing this tournament thing and you really, really want the tournament to be delayed for some reason, maybe have, like, a specific arena where, like, the characters, like all of the tournament members have to go to when they're like going through
Yeah,
their
there's no stadium to fight in.
Yeah, you just have to find them.
In the fucking... You just walk up to people in the street and fight them.
But yeah, like maybe have a specific area where like all of the disqualification matches happen, where like everyone's like lined up, and then maybe have the evil team, which you don't have, like be a disruption. They're like, oh, I'm putting a stop to all of these matches because we want to do evil stuff. You could have something like that, and that would be at least something interesting that happens. Like, why does this evil team want to stop these tournament matches, or like something like that? And it's...
Yeah, I don't know. It's...
Yeah.
Anyway, we're probably going to get going.
This video's probably gone on long enough. We
I
might
hope
as
you-
well do a podcast.
I hope you understand the point where showing I'm going to be, you know, using these camera angles and stuff to hopefully give some interest, and also probably showing some of the moments we're talking about on screen, like as gameplay.
You've got
I got to
all
get
of the
inside.
gameplay. I can give you the gameplay that I've got as well, the going through as quickly as possible.
But I got to get inside because my nose is really starting to not like the outside. And
Welcome to spring.
yeah, can't wait for... I was going to say hepatitis. That's not... What do they call it? Hay fever. Why the fuck did I think hepatitis?
I just want to say, I hope that the remake to Black and White, because my favorite game is Black and White, or Black 2 and White 2. Like, that's my favorite generation. I hope that they actually put care into that. They probably won't, but I hope that there's a reason to play those games. And even as a major Pokemon fan, I think I might just skip out on the next mainline game, because it feels like the water's tainted.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Keep an eye out on both of the channels for more stuff like this in the future. If you're interested, talk about what you think in the comments, and, like, you know, if you think we're right or wrong, or if I need to shut up and stop talking about my experience with making video games or whatever. Otherwise, yeah. See you around.